Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough and this is episode 764. I hope you're well and good and great. For today, we're learning how to deal with, how to stop, how to avoid, all about burnout. That's what we're on about. The stress, the worries, the strains, the physical symptoms. And the reason why I'm doing this episode is very selfish because I just recently experienced some of the exact same thing. And when I go through things, I want to be able to learn and hopefully share anything that I've learnt along the way. And it's not the first time I've felt this way, but it's been a long time since I've been burnt out. And I was thinking, because I almost missed it in terms of corrected it, but I wanted to be able to kind of do this live stream. And if you didn't know, if you're listening to the podcast, it is being broadcasted live on youtube.com/Joseph Clough. So feel free to join us for the pre-show and the after show where we get to hang out a little bit and I get to know you and support you in any way that I can. So as I said, it's all about how to avoid and stop feeling burnout. And if you want to discover how, if you want to rediscover the secrets of what to do about it, well, we should probably go ahead and do that. But not right now. Let's go to a quick ad break, knowing that you listening to this means you're supporting the show. So let's go ahead to it right now. Are you ready to transform your life in the most amazing way? If so, go ahead and download my free hypnosis app, where you can listen to hundreds of free coaching and hypnosis audios at your convenience on your phone. Create your own hypnosis sessions. That's right, all custom and tailored to your needs. Listen to hundreds of hypnosis sessions. Truly transformational, where you can transform in the day, and also, of course, you can transform as you go to sleep by toggling over the sunshine to the moon, and it will guide you off to sleep effortlessly. And of course, please go ahead and share the love and rate and review the app, because it just means we can help and support more people in the world, and we need it so much right now. You make the difference by leaving a review. Just go to your app store, type in Hypnosis with Joseph Clough, and leave your review. I appreciate you and thank you for listening to this message. And welcome back. So now look, let's get straight to it without further ado. How to stop and avoid burnout. Now, the number one thing, it may be simple, it may be easy, but ultimately you need to be consciously aware of what's really happening. You see, most of the time we are asleep to all the stresses and strains, and I tell you why, because we get used to them. We get used to the feelings that we have, and they become normalized based on what we think is our benchmark when it comes to being healthy and unhealthy. So you have to become consciously aware of what your body is experiencing. And we'll get into the hows very soon. But when we think about it, a lot of the things that I say is that the worries, doubts, anxieties, fears, all of those things, they're symptoms. If you were to go to a doctor and let's say you're feeling some kind of ailment, the doctor would go, well, what are you experiencing? I'm experiencing headache, sore throat, stomachache, aches, pains, fever, shiver. Every time I eat, I feel bad. Well, you understand those symptoms if they're a good doctor and go, well, this must be the root cause of what's happening. A bad doctor would go, well, I'm going to try and fix this symptom, this one, that one, this one, that one. And before you know, you got like 10 pills every single day, which would make no sense. So remember, the good doctor uses the symptoms, and that's why I go into like, well, what is the cause of all anxiety, worry, fears, the imposter syndrome, the exact same thing. Well, we got to have the idea of that when it comes to the physical burnout and the stresses. Be conscious of the symptoms that you have. They're there for a reason. It's like your body is screaming out at you to say, hey, pay attention. We don't want to just experience it and do nothing about it. So you need to be consciously aware of what's really happening. Now, the other thing is, we have to then isolate, well, what is creating that stress? Now, is it the boss? Is it the economy? Is it the relationship? Is it the imposter syndrome? Because it can be psychological, and I'll give you an example. If you have the imposter syndrome and you doubt yourself, you beat yourself up, the inner critic, feeling not good enough, worthy, and deserving, you're gonna feel stress. And if you experience those thoughts and feelings for a continued amount of time, your body is going to try to get you out of that situation. I don't know if it's going to be, say, like a migraine. I've worked with lots of people in the business world. Migraines disappear once they let go of the stress or how they deal with the situation, never to come back again. It's interesting. It's like the unconscious mind is giving these symptoms to say, hey, this is not working. We haven't got the resources, or they're saying that we should be concerned about. But the problem is, the real problem is, we persist all the time. And the more we persist, the more we resist, those symptoms get bigger and bolder. They start to scream out of us. And guess what happens next? Well, that's the burnout. We tend to just put up with all this trapped emotion, these stresses and associations, because your external environment is a reflection of what you're going on in your own mind. I'll say that again. Your external environment is usually, I'm going to say here as well, a reflection of what's happening within your own mind. Because if you don't believe you're worthy or enough to deal with this situation, you experience more stress when you go into that situation. It's kind of shown up here, there, and everywhere. And I have learned this very, very recently, because the other aspect of this is spreading yourself too thin. The past 6 months, or I'd probably say the last 10 months, I've been overdoing it working. Whether it be going live 3 times per week, and there's all the preparation before, during, and after, the edits and the creating of titles, the uploading, all those things. Whether it be me training every other weekend, teaching people to do what I do. Whether it be my actual career within itself, within my program. Whether it be considering and developing ideas for the app which we're putting into. All of these things, and there's many other things, I'm starting to spread myself way too thin. And that is when my body said no. I started to come down feeling run down, stuffy nose, and I've still got a little bit of that congestion right now, sore throat. My body was saying, look, you cannot keep doing this, Joseph. Something has to stop. And if I wasn't going to consciously stop, my body is definitely going to do the best that it can to get me out of the game of what I was doing. And that is why I had the physical symptoms in my experience, because my immunity, my immune system was run down. And that is why we're more susceptible to getting ill, because we're under stress. You see, if you're in a healthy lifestyle and you're having a harmonious life, I'm not going to say balance, because I think balance is the wrong term, because there'll be times when you need to achieve something, there's going to be a lack of balance. But as long as you have the harmony in where you're heading and what you're doing, we're heading in the right direction. But when there's this lack of balance and we're spreading ourselves too thin, we will start to go, I can't deal with this. I'm doing way too much. And for me personally, that was a big one. So if we think about what is the external triggers that we're having on the one level, what is showing up in our life that we're not really looking at, we're not really dealing with, because at the end of the day, you have to be consciously aware of these things. Your unconscious mind is saying and giving you all these symptoms to pay attention, and if you don't, you break the chain of good health, and then it's a really big wake-up call. And we don't want to go so stressed, by the way, that we feel real, and you know, like the real physical symptoms of a disease of the body is created by breaking the chain of good health. We don't want to be so run down that we can't cope with things on a biological way. So you have to wake up, and I really mean it. Wake up to what is really happening. What is showing up in your life that you're not paying attention to? What is it about certain maybe people or situations where when you think of them, it causes you to feel worries, doubts, anxieties, and stresses? Maybe you have limiting beliefs about yourself. Once again, I said like the imposter syndrome or not feeling good enough or worthy that creates that stressful situation, and we keep on persisting, and those symptoms keep on just bouncing back at us, getting bigger and bigger and bigger to make you look out for it. So be conscious. Don't do things on autopilot. Don't think that stress is the normal. Think about that. Life is not meant to be stressful. It is not meant to be filled with anxiety. It's not meant to be filled with fear. It's not meant to be filled with doubt all the time. It's just not meant to be that way. But because we experience it for so long, because we put up with that external stress or that person saying the same thing over and over, the bad relationships, the people in our life, whatever it is, if we put up with it, it just makes us feel like this is normal. This is not a normal way of being. You've got to go, look, what is really showing up and what does it mean? What does it really mean? And if you want a bigger wake-up call, consider if you were to live this way for the rest of your life. Going from being healthy to being run down to being burnt out, and then just repeating that pattern. Or continually feeling anxiety, fear, worry, and dread for the rest of your life. Or continuing the stories and the habits and patterns of bad relationships, or the habits and patterns and stories of going into work, dreading it every single day, feeling like an imposter. If you play out that scenario, your health dramatically goes down. And what makes it worse, that means you cannot show up for other people in your life. You cannot show up for maybe your children as the way that you would like to. You cannot be the example of someone who is powerfully confident and self-certain when you're having these breakdown moments or feeling burnt out. You feel exhausted, and therefore the real other issue is they see that as a habit and pattern to mimic as they grow up. We have all these wake-up calls if we consider the bigger and deeper picture, when we really start to put our conscious mind to the real issue. But once we start to normalize it and think that this massive amount of stress on my heart, massive amount of stress on my sleeping, all of these things, the external to the internal, when you start to just build that up, it's not going to end well. It's not going to really help. But once you pay attention to it, once you start to really analyze, and take the time out for this, by the way, I want you to go spend half hour thinking, where is this external or this internal stress coming from externally? And how am I showing up? Is it something that I need to change? Is it something I need to change within myself? Let's play out another scenario. Let's just say the anxiety, the worry, the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, or things like I'm not good enough, I am not worthy, I am not of value, I am not deserving. If you start to analyze that and go, well, I'm feeling this every day, well, of course, it's going to cause you to act in a certain way in that scenario. So maybe it is about your identity. Maybe it is about your psychology, which may have came back from all the stressful events of the past, the significant emotional events, what people said to you, whatever happened to you. But if we carry on that as normal, that's a big problem. So become conscious of where the stress is coming from and your relationship to that stress. Because there's one critical component here, and that is you. It's not, if you weren't here, then there's nothing to be stressed out about. But you are here. So therefore, you are participating in that experience of stress or burnout or feeling overwhelmed and unable to do anything. You have to become consciously aware of your part in this role. Notice where it's coming from. Notice your relationship to it when it comes to about your esteem, your confidence, your self-belief. You see, once you do that, play out the scenario next. Imagine waking up every single day knowing you are worthy, deserving, and good enough. Whether it be to go into that interview, whether it be to lead that meeting, whether it's to have that great and powerful and loving relationship, maybe it's to let go of certain people in your life and get the good ones in our life. Suddenly, we don't feel that stress. We feel energized. We feel powerful. We feel confident. We feel self-love and self-worth. Our body now feels physically well. We feel ease in the body rather than a sense of dis-ease. So if we really think about just changing our psychology by doing the deep work, our body doesn't have to give us those physical symptoms of stress. And remember, once again, my learning here was less about my identity because I'm very, very worthy and deserving and enough. I can say that with absolute congruency. I know that to be true because I've done the deep work. But even having done the deep work and made the changes, I have also got to become consciously aware of spreading myself too thin. And I'm doing it because I want to help as many people as possible. That's the real reason. I have a mission, vision, ambition to make an impact while I'm here on this earth. But if I'm so stressed, and it wasn't even like mental stress, but just physically run down by doing too many things, not sleeping as deeply, am I really going to help people the way that I'd like to? Is that ambition going to be fulfilled? Is that mission of mine going to really help those people if I'm not here to start to do it, or if I'm not showing up the way that I would like to? You see, I get myself in a mentality and a psychology that I've got to be in the most powerful state to help those who need it most. I don't help other people being stressed. In the same way, I would not help people feeling a low self-esteem. If I'm trying to help people be confident, I don't want to be unconfident. So it's the exact same thing. If I'm physically under pressure by spreading myself too thin, spending all these units of time, whether it be minutes, whether it be hours, whether it be weeks, all of those things, I cannot help as all the people that I would like to, and I want to. So I had to become consciously aware recently, and I didn't catch it. I almost caught it just in time because I had the epiphany, but then I started to feel physically kind of drained just before and during that. But now my goal is, if I learn, if I grow, if I start to apply what I'm telling you, I can start to focus on the things I'm really good at and forget about the other things. To have my own set of self-standards and my self-value, because it is a bit about value, because if I'm spreading myself too thin, that means I'm at least not valuing my health. I'm not valuing my own sense of peace of mind and body. So maybe I've got to pull back on certain things. Maybe you've got to let go of certain things to focus on the one or two things. There's lots of me to discover here because I want to be able to fulfill all these goals and dreams that I have. But once again, the real moral of the story here is it shouldn't be normal to feel physically weak or stressed. It is not normal to feel symptoms continuously. Just not normal. We normalize it because we think we've got to go through it and we think that this is the level of our expectation. But let's raise the bar and go, actually, my level I want to be living at is knowing I'm worthy, deserving enough, and I have balance in my time so I can show up the way that I would like to, with the passion and the purpose and the self-certainty to be the person that I want to be. And that means my family receives that energy. I become an example of what can be done. My employees or my colleagues or my bosses, my customers, my relationships, my friends, all of those people get the best value out of me by me valuing myself and becoming consciously aware of the triggers, the symptoms, and the real reason behind it, like maybe not feeling worthy and deserving, and that creates the stress. All of those things, you have to be consciously aware of them. Otherwise, your body will keep on screaming them. And if you keep on trying to resist, guess what happens? It persists. Whatever you resist persists. So therefore, if you have anxiety and worries and doubts continuously, you are resisting transformation. But that anxiety is going to keep on persisting until you pay attention. And if you're not paying attention now, that means those symptoms can get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I do not like the worst case scenario of that. Whether it be people who've had, like we know, people under stress can have heart attacks, strokes, they can have migraines, they can have dis-ease of the body because it breaks the chain of good health. I don't want that in our future. I want us to be consciously aware of our body, of our needs, what my unconscious mind is saying, what your unconscious mind is saying, and that means you can do the deep work being consciously aware of what's really, really happening. That is how to avoid and stop feeling burnt out, by becoming consciously aware of those things. So I hope you got some value, just the conscious awareness of not letting things remain unconscious until it's too late. At least just wake up to that possibility that if you change your mind and body, you change how you show up in the world around you. And when you do that, you see a whole different world and you're no longer resisting the things you need to change in your life. Now, of course, if you feel like you need help with the imposter syndrome, if you are feeling stressed and burnout because of self-doubt, if you're not in your career where you would like to be already, and you are totally wanting to rise and shine and do what has to be done, and you are absolutely invested to not allow those stresses to become consequences which may stop us really being the real us. If you're really committed, decisive, and ready, you can book a call with us at josephclough.info/talk. When you go to that page, you'll book a time to speak with us on a one-to-one basis and therefore fill out an application. And then on the call itself, we'll get clear on exactly of those stresses, what is showing up that really has to go. Really understand how you want to be. What's really kind of like beneath the surface there, and then come up with a strategy, a clear strategy, personalized and customized to your needs. Absolutely, consciously and unconsciously. If you want me and my team on your side to make the transformation you've always desired, wherever you've had the issue for 20, 30 years, 50 years, a lot of our clients have had these issues for a long time. And by the way, they also, I'd say 80% have tried many other things. 80 or so percent, I'm not making up these stats just in my mind, by the way, but they are kind of roughly correct. Most people don't believe they'll ever be able to change. They feel broken, they feel unfixable. But we do that, we help people let go of the core issue, the core that creates those symptoms. And that means we can do it lightning quick, let go of decades of pain, decades of future pain, by working on the root cause, so we can let it all go in a matter of weeks. That's what I do as my main business, helping and customizing it to your needs in every way. So once again, you can go to josephclough.info/talk to book your time to speak with us on a one-to-one level and really get the clarity and the solution that you need. With that, my friends, I look forward to speaking to you on a future episode. And I'm going to speak to everyone else on the live stream. So I'll speak to you all soon. Many thanks and goodbye. Okay, that was the live recording of the podcast. How are you? Are you going to become consciously aware of what's really happening in your body, but also the external? Maybe you can take a few minutes now just to think about that. What is showing up over and over again when I'm not paying attention to? I should have said that. Because what we do in one thing, we tend to do in many things. So therefore, there's stories tied to it, the identity tied to it. What is that story? What are we resisting? But it just creates the persistence of that pain and stress. That once we shine a light to it, we can go, this is a thing I need to change. Hey, my friend John, it's been a while, all the way over Twitch. Where have you been? I think you used to be my only Twitch user. We've had a couple since then, here and there, not often. But where have you been, John? Long time, my friend. But yeah, I hope you got value from this. I will be back here live on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, which works out perfectly because it's in America, it's Thanksgiving on Thursday. Is that correct? Maybe we should do a gratitude hypnosis session on Wednesday. What do you reckon? A Thanksgiving gratitude episode. We could do that about Monday as well. But a nice hypnosis session at the least. See, now we know that, we got to ask ourselves, well, what do I have to change within myself? That once I make the change will presuppose the transformation in my experience. Thank you, Leah. My head's still a little bit fuzzy, but a bit congested, so I didn't feel like I performed the way I'd like to. But there's something to be learned there. Maybe not to get burnt out again, Joseph Clough. Speaking to you, the unconscious mind of Joseph Clough, I want you to just... Actually, no. Speaking to you, the conscious mind of Joseph Clough, wake up to what your unconscious mind's trying to tell you. Stop being silly. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Have you ever seen that skit from Mad? Kevin Michael Reed has. Stop it. Thank you so much, Cassie. So pleased that it'll resonate. Thank you very much. With that, should we end the stream here? Shall we? The reason being is I need to consciously take my own advice. Because I'm working a bit tomorrow. But that's important because it is my group coaching call. So I've got that, but then I haven't got anything else on. One thing I've learned as well is when I did my weekend trainings, like every other weekend, I would not give myself a day off on like the Friday or the Monday. And that was a wake-up call. Because I like working, and that's the other problem. But what's the point of doing that if you don't feel good? Because then you don't work because you're feeling unwell. You know, I'm in a double bind. Thank you, Michelle. I definitely will. A relaxing night tonight. There'll be no words out of my mouth other than Mr. C, my cat. But even then, I'm going to tell him we need some quiet time. And then I had a good 8 hours sleep last night though, so that was nice. Yes, me need to regain my energy. I feel like I'm just losing. Yes. So we've got to become consciously aware of where that energy is being depleted, what's creating that stress. But once we pay attention, cut it out, modify, or change ourselves so we react differently, that's when we really make changes. Mina says, you said a lot of things have been true for me. I'm currently trying to heal from burnout. Yeah, and Mina, you've been through a lot this last year. So, on the same notion of burnout, to be gentle. It's good to be gentle. I'm just trying to think about how that would apply to me. Because I have high expectations of myself, but not in a negative way. But maybe they've got to be more gentle too. Maybe I'll incorporate that. I'll wonder upon that. Do I need to be more gentle upon myself and my expectations? But expectations are good. It's all context dependent. So it's a great topic, Joseph. Definitely something we'll need to take notice and be aware and ensure we look after ourselves. I've definitely overworked and overstressed myself many times, yeah. The other thing I could have mentioned is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. Like the Einstein quote, is a definition of madness. Well, if we're just dealing with the wrong things or the same old things and not being different, then we've got to wake up to that as well. I sure will. I would bring him on camera if my camera was actually working, because he's sleeping right roughly there. But this camera is all mounted. This one is all mounted, and my other webcam is not working properly. Thank you, Leah. I have to say, fasting has helped me though. 7 days with 2 48-hour fasts. Excuse me, I yawned. That's so very, very rude. I couldn't help it that time. So I was thinking if I'm gonna eat tonight. Eat tonight or eat tomorrow? Eat tonight or eat tomorrow? I don't know. I'll see how I feel. I just heard water in that music. I've never heard that before. Anyway, I'm just rambling now, so thank you all for being here. I greatly appreciate you. I made myself the most beautiful quesadilla. If I say that correctly, quesadilla or quesadilla. I say casa, but I think it's quesadilla. And if you're really crazy, it's quesadilla, which makes no sense. I made the most beautiful one. It had jalapenos, fresh mushroom, green peppers, red onions, garlic, spices. It was beautiful. I'm trying to get this stuff out my system. And it has absolutely helped. Like, beforehand, it wasn't that good. But, like, since I've been fasting, my head's been so much clearer. And I'm not doing a prolonged fast, like the 3, 4, 5 day one. I'm just doing, like, every 2 days or so. Just as a little biological reset. But let's close out the stream. Thank you all for being here. I do greatly appreciate you. I will be here back on Monday. Monday will be about a great subject. You want to know about this subject? It's so good. It's so great. But you have to give me some time to think about what that subject is. But on Wednesday, that will be a good subject. Amazing one, because it's going to be a hypnosis session around Thanksgiving and gratitude. Because why not? And on Friday, oh, my video just converted. I'm putting on YouTube very soon a 4-hour hypnosis session to go to sleep to for weight loss. It just converted right now. So that's going to be fun. Let's see if we can play it. Oh, I've muted it, so that's what we do, we mute things.
Listen. You are free.
You are
All
free
stress.
of all stress.
Hello there.
Hello there.
My name is Joseph Clark.
No, mine is
And this is a guided
Imposter. But thank you ever so much. I appreciate you. Well, that will be going up soon. I don't know when, but it will be up very, very soon. Thank you, Carlos, as well. Peace to you, my friend. Peace to you and all. So I'll speak to you all soon. Many thanks and goodbye.